Hello, friends, and welcome to the Exploring Washington State podcast. My name is Scott Cowan, and I'm the host of the show. Each episode, I have a conversation with an interesting guest who is living in or from Washington State. These are casual conversations with real and interesting people. I think you're going to like the show. So let's jump right in with today's guest. I am sitting down today with Cosima from the Olympia Sailing Co. She calls it Co. I would have said company, but she calls it Co. So the Olympia Sailing Co. They have... Hello. And you have a ship.
I do.
I know nothing about ships other than they go in the water. And it's a concrete hull. And that makes no logical sense to me. So I want to make sure we get that out of the way, that I have no clue what we're talking about. But before we go there, introduce yourself and give my audience a little bit of how you ended up on the water. Because I think there's a big story there.
Absolutely. Well, like you said, my name's Cosima. I'm the owner of Olympia Sailing Company. Obviously, we're based in Olympia, which is the very south end of Puget Sound. So I grew up in Olympia on a little cove called Big Fish Trap. My father is a boat builder and actually built the boat that you were referring to. Her name is Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl.
Yeah.
I want to know about that, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most people do. I grew up sailing on Puget Sound as a kid. I was always around boats and around the water. I think for me, when I really got excited about sailing was probably right before I got my driver's license and I wanted my freedom and I didn't have a car. My parents were like, "Hey kid, you want to go somewhere? Like take a boat." And I was like, I can just take a boat? And so sailing was my first kind of, my first little taste of independence as a kid. My brother and I, who I'm still really close with and is really involved in Olympia Sailing Co. We'd always go out fishing or exploring or taking our friends or kind of going like camping on some of the islands. And I guess you could say for some reason around boats, there was not much supervision in my childhood, in my family. So that's how I first kind of got hooked on boats.
Okay.
I ended up kind of running with that throughout my adult life. When I was 19, I started working on the Schooner Adventurous, which is run by a nonprofit called Sound Experience, which if any of your listeners don't know about them, they should check it out. They have awesome school programs, kid programs, and then just cool sailing experiences around Puget Sound. But I got a kind of taste of what it meant to work on boats, and that's pretty much what I've been doing my adult life. And then, in 2021, I opened the Olympia Sailing Co. with, shortly after purchasing the Pterodactyl from my dad, kind of during COVID.
So you and your brother grew up and as teenagers, before driver's license, mom and dad said, "Here, go take a boat." It just blows my mind. I not being a boater at all, the idea that they would, I don't want to say trust you. I don't mean it like that, but trust you. And, and you go out and take it. What could go wrong? And, honestly, I'm of the age where, the theme song from Gilligan's Island's going through my head right now. And it's a 3-hour cruise. What could go wrong? Your early days with boating, you must have some funny stories that you... I was a teenager a long time ago. I got in trouble. I did stupid things, and I'm sure you did too.
Oh yeah.
Can I get you to share one?
Well, let me just put it this way. The boats were already half sinking, most of them. We grew up in a cove. So basically at high tide, there was like 12 feet of water. And when it was low tide, the boats just kind of laid over on their sides. So, they're crusty and mud. They're not expensive boats. They're boats that my dad got off Craigslist for $1,000. And we all just kind of played on them in the summer.
Okay.
We're talking took 10 minutes to figure out how to start the outboard. So, we're not talking yachting here. We're talking some, some mud flat boats. But anyways, so gosh, where to even begin? My brother, especially, he always had the little motorboats that would always end up towing me somehow in my sailboat that I barely knew how to sail. But we had a lot of fun. And, the main thing was that the marina down the way had a soft serve ice cream machine, which is probably why I really got into sailing, because I was only allowed to have ice cream if we sailed there. So that was always my little bribe to get me into it. But
that's funny.
But yeah, it worked.
That's funny. Okay. Once again,
Yeah.
not my world at all, right? But one of what you just said, okay, so we're gonna go sailing. I mean, you're taking the boat down to the marina to get some soft serve ice cream.
Right.
I have a couple of friends who are private pilots, and they'll fly to go get coffee somewhere or go get a burger and a milkshake, and that just blows my mind. And they're like, "Oh no, it's just what we do." I went with them one time, and it was like, get in the plane, fly, land, go eat, fly back. I mean, I'm like, this is crazy. I'm in a small plane. I'm like, yeah. We do it all the time. Whatever. So probably the same thing for you. It's like, yeah, it's just what we did. All right.
It's nice to have a destination. But, and that's the glory of Puget Sound. We're not in the open ocean here. It's not like this crazy squall was going to come through and a tidal wave and 6-foot seas. And, we're in an inland waterway, especially down here. I mean, the water's cold and it should always be treated with respect. And there's always dangers involved on the water, but for the most part, it's a pretty predictable and safe, body of water to test, to, I don't know, learn to sail on.
But then, all right, well, let's bounce here because when you and I first started talking about having you on the show, I think were you in Spain or Italy at that time? You were somewhere in the Mediterranean.
Probably. Yeah.
And you were working on a yacht for some organization or somebody, or you were on the crew of a large vessel.
Yeah.
Where have you been around the world on boats?
Yeah. So, I think I was in the Mediterranean when we spoke. So for the last 10 years, I've since I graduated college, pretty much. I have been in the yachting industry. So I work on private sailing yachts. So basically someone with a lot of money wants to have all the fun of the boating experience and the traveling, but they don't want to deal with the maintenance or the accounts or the logistics, or they don't have the skills simply to do it. So they hire a full-time crew. So that's basically what I've been doing. Mm-hmm. My last boat, was my first captain's job, which was very fun. I was on the boat for about 3 years with my partner, who's a marine engineer, along with, other crew. We were a crew of 4 to 7, depending on what we were doing. But yeah, I've sailed across the Atlantic 3 times. Oh. I've sailed throughout the Caribbean, the Eastern Seaboard, up into Nova Scotia. I've sailed the entire Mediterranean. And then this time last year, we were sailing up to Norway, which was really fun, exploring the fjords. So I've been really lucky to do a lot of sailing, but I got to say, I think this area here is still probably one of my favorite, and, probably most beautiful places I've really ever sailed. So it always pulls me back.
So when you're captaining a boat for a private owner, mm-hmm. They are not living on the boat full time, right? Or are they?
Well, that's generally the case. Yeah. I mean, usually these people have so many resources that the yacht is just one of the toys in the toy box.
Right.
These people I actually just recently working for, they lived on the boat full time, which is very rare.
Okay.
And in some ways makes it more challenging as a crew because you're constantly responsible and looking after and, checking in with these people. And, we want them to be happy and obviously safe. So it did make it a bit of a harder position. But at the same time, when the owners are on board, that's when you sail hard, go all the different places, right. I'm not going to pull into Portofino without the boss on board because it's, thousands of dollars a day. So in some ways, part of the reason why the last 2-3 years of my life were so action packed is because we did have live aboard owners, which, yeah, I'd say it made it really special.
That's kind of cool though, that you got to see, those ports of call throughout. But now what I noticed here is you didn't mention anything in the Pacific. Have you not done much in the Pacific?
No, I've actually never really sailed in the Pacific, okay. Which is crazy. I'd love to. It's a place that a lot of like bigger super yachts don't go as often because it's longer legs and there's less resources and less support. Mm-hmm. There's less airports for people to fly into. I mean, it's just really longer legs of sailing.
Right.
But I would absolutely love to do it. It is on the bucket list.
It's on the bucket list. All right. So let's talk about the Pterodactyl.
Yeah.
Odd name.
Yes.
Odd hull. That's my professional assessment. Why on earth?
We are offbeat for sure.
Why on earth did your dad decide to build a cement and I know it's not technically cement, but you know,
It is, yeah.
why? What was his? It's and then how on earth does the thing float? I mean, water displacement, but it seems, once again, to the non-sailing guy, this seems very odd.
Absolutely. So that's a great question. Well, Ferro cement, and Ferro's referring to the steel infrastructure of the boat.
Okay.
So Ferro cement was a type of building that really became popular. You know, it started showing up, I think, more in like the 40s, but really it took off in the 70s and 80s. And why that was is because it's basically a pretty cheap and easy way to build a boat. Well, I shouldn't say easy. It's quick.
Oh.
You can, you know, comparatively. However, Ferro cement kind of has a bad name in the sailing industry, and in some ways it deserves it because a lot of people built boats without any experience, and because it was semi-affordable, people just kind of went for it. So there's a lot of below par Ferro cement boats out there.
Okay.
That being said, when it's done correctly, it's a very strong, very low maintenance hull, which is luckily what I have. My dad was a pretty well-known, they call them plasterers back in the day. So that's basically once you build your steel infrastructure, you have a professional crew come in and basically fill it with cement. And it's a very slow curing, very, very strong cement if done properly. So you have your rebar infrastructure that basically has a square welded mesh, kind of around the structure, and then you fill it with cement, and you usually want it to take about, I think it's like 2 to 4 weeks to dry. So you have to keep it wet, and it's a very big process. And if you do it too fast, then you have a very brittle cement. Anyways, maybe I'm going too far. I don't know if people care.
No, I care. This is I was going to start asking questions, so go for it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And yeah, so a lot of people are like, Ferro cement, like kind of stick their nose up at it because, you know, you do see a lot of them around, and sometimes they're just, you know, they weren't well plastered. They're kind of ugly. They're wonky. They're very shippy, as we say sometimes, just meaning like big old herky boats.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, so my dad built this boat when he started when he was 25. He was from New Jersey, but he always had a dream of sailing and moved out here to Washington State. He must have been, I think, 25. And the goal was simply to come out here to find some cheap land and start building a boat. And his brother ended up coming out. All his friends from high school came out. It was kind of like a, you know, pretty much a little hippie commune, and everyone was building there.
Was this in Olympia?
Their boats. It was actually in Snohomish.
Oh, well, once again, kind of.
Yeah, not far.
Well, but also what you just described is fairly typical during that period of time.
Yeah.
Too, up there.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Okay.
So, they actually were given this old powerhouse in Snohomish, which was just like a huge long warehouse, perfect for building boats. So they built actually 3 boats in the early 70s. Oh. My dad was kind of the mastermind of it and got a lot of experience while he was building the boats on a professional plastering crew. But yeah, it took him actually 10 years to build a boat. It wasn't, 1984 is when the boat officially was.
But you just said it's a fast way to build a boat. So I'd hate to know how long I'm just teasing.
Well, I should say this. So with Pterodactyl, the hull is Ferro cement, but everything else is wood. The interior is wood. The deck is wood. The mast, everything's wood. So, and he was also helping his brothers. Yeah.
Yeah, just the hull. Okay.
Yeah, I think he built the hull in like 10 months or something.
So question for you. How many feet is this boat?
She's 42 on deck, but overall, so from the end of the bowsprit to the end of the main boom, she's 59. So
approximately, what does she weigh?
She weighs 21 tons. So 42,000 pounds.
If this is a wood hull boat, would it be much lighter? Would the weight be the same? I mean,
so that's an interesting question. Basically, a boat design, in order to displace the water and float, it has to weigh the same regardless of what the material is.
Oh.
Whether you put that in the keel as ballast or it's in the hull itself, it needs to technically be a certain weight to be able to displace the water properly as it was designed. So it's less about the material and more about the design. However, Pterodactyl is a very beamy boat, meaning, very wide, and she's very deep. So she's, that's why she's a great charter boat. She's so stable.
So it just carries its weight differently than, say, a boat with a wood boat with a keel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And, weight of boats is pretty much exponential according to size. Yeah, she's a heavy boat for sure.
Yeah.
And the rig is very heavy as well.
Okay.
The masts.
Right. So that could have been maybe you could have the rigging could have been lighter weight if you wanted to. You could put.
Yeah, well, you could make her a little more sporty, but it's not necessarily what we need to do for what we do with her. But you certainly could.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So it took him 10 years to complete the project, mid-'80s completion. What did he do with it once he was done?
She hasn't done any far-fledged trips. My dad did sail, he spent a lot of time sailing on other boats around the Pacific, other boats that he built. But because he ended up having a family with his first wife and my older brother, he stayed pretty local. I mean, he went all up into the Inside Passage in Canada, but the boat was mostly on Bay Bridge Island for a lot of the time.
Okay.
He did live aboard for, I think, 20 years.
Okay.
And always sailing, always on the move. But unfortunately, he didn't get to do any of the longer voyage he had initially planned. But she's still been busy, the boat.
Could this boat, is it theoretical that it could go around the world with it? I mean, is it?
Yeah.
In theory? Okay.
I would want to, beef up some things, particularly the steering. Just, when you're offshore surfing down waves, there's just so much more load on all the steering. Obviously, that's not something you'd want to lose. I would definitely bulk that up. And then, from a system standpoint, there'd be things I'd want to add to be more comfortable. But in terms of safety, if I did some updates, I would have no qualm sailing this boat around the world.
Okay, cool. All right. So your dad owned it, and then you bought it from him. And did you buy it with the strict intention of opening the sailing company?
So, well, one funny thing about the boat is, when I was born, and my younger brother as well, sailing was kind of put on the back burner for my dad and the family. So Pterodactyl was actually in my front yard on boat stands almost my whole childhood. I think she went there when I was probably about 5, and then we didn't relaunch her until I was 19.
Wow.
So this boat actually was kind of like my treehouse as a kid. Like, my friends would come over from school and we'd crawl up the ladder and hang out on the boat.
Yeah.
I'd probably drink my first beer up there. It was kind of like our little clubhouse. And then when I was 19 or 18, I guess, 19, and, we'd had our little boats and I'd kind of gone sailing on some bigger rigs. My dad was like, oh, my kids really like sailing. We got to get the boat going. So that he kind of went on a couple-year mission to put some resources back into the boat. And yeah, I think she relaunched in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, 2014. So she's only been back on the water, 10 years. But yeah, so to answer your question, my dad's getting older. He's in his late 70s now, and he's still super with it. And he, was still sailing the boat, but it was just becoming a bit much to look after. I mean, just these boats take up so much, just to maintain is a lot of physical work. And, I think he was just ready to pass it on. And, so yeah, when COVID hit and I was working on all these yachts, my partner and I were in the Caribbean and all the borders were closing around us. And we hadn't been home in so long. We decided to come out to Washington, leave our boat job for a little while. And before I even had any notions of maybe buying the boat, I asked my dad if we could take the boat for 3 weeks and go sailing up into the San Juan Islands and go exploring. And he let us, and yeah, we just had so much fun sailing. And especially as a yachty and someone who's just worked on boats their entire adult life, I owned nothing. Like, I've been living out of a duffel bag for 10 years. And I kind of got the idea. I was like, it could be kind of fun to start investing some of my time into something that's not someone else's boat. Mm-hmm. And I asked my brother, I was like, I think I might ask our dad if I can buy the boat from him. And my brother was like, no way, dude, he is not ready, not happening. So anyways, I did ask my dad, and he was pretty much like, oh my gosh, please take it. Thank you. And then within like 5 minutes, I was like, oh my God, okay, I'm doing this.
What have I done?
Yeah. So I was like, so I ended up going back to work for a little bit. Because I did know that I just know boats of any capacity, even cheap boats, they just require a lot of money to upkeep and more and all of that. So I knew that from the get-go that I didn't want this to be a burden for me. I want it to be something that I could always enjoy and also keep it up to my standards. that I would like a boat to be. So I started playing with the idea of starting a day sailing company, which was kind of, how this all started.
That's actually a cool story. So your dad was, it's funny, your brother says he's not ready, and your dad, the way you describe the story, is like, oh, please take it,
Yeah, he's like,
no
oh my
backseas, it's yours. Go.
Yeah.
What I love to ask questions of like the unexpected things, the that might have seemed, like, oh, that was bad at the time, but we always learn stuff. What about buying this boat and then you becoming the owner, and now you're responsible for its care, its maintenance, and all that? What about the boat caught you by surprise, if anything?
Well, when I bought the boat, it needed a lot of work again.
Sure.
Which I was a little afraid about. I remember when I first bought it, my partner Nick like pulled me aside and we were like looking around the boat, and it's just like, I'm pretty sure on the engine log it said the last oil change was like 1989, and he was like, are you sure you want to do this? And I was like, oh gosh, this is a lot, because it's a big boat. Anyways, but I once I carried through with it, I was shocked at how much I enjoyed fixing up the boat.
Okay.
It was really empowering for me. I mean, I've always kind of been a handy person, and I love using my hands and working on projects, but just giving myself total permission to just make this what I want and work really hard at it. And that's pretty much what I did. I went on a 6-month hiatus from my job, and I just woke up every morning and I worked till late every day, just working on the boat. And it also, one of the best parts of it is my dad and I just having so much fun doing it together.
Okay.
I mean, having the guy there when you're like, okay, I have to tear out this bulkhead, like a wall. He's like, oh, well, let me tell you about it. It's 5/16 ply with, and the fasteners are here and they're size 10. I'm like, oh, great. So I can just it makes everything so much easier when you have the person there who built the boat. So it's been a fun bonding experience for us.
Cool.
So yeah, I from the get-go, I was really pleasantly surprised. And then also I had no expectations for Olympia Sailing Company. There's not that much around similar to it that I had to compare to. There's a couple that have been around, but to the capacity that I was looking to do it, I wasn't really sure. And, I've sailed around, a lot of areas around the world, and so many of these cute little harbor towns, they just have these little charter boats going out all day, every day. And, they might not be packed, but there's always a few people on them. And it's just so funny to come home on one of the most gorgeous waterways. We're surrounded by the Olympic Mountains. We have Mount Rainier right there. And just to not have that. So I was hopeful, but I didn't know what to expect. And I remember the day that we opened the booking on the website, and I put some stuff on social media just announcing it. The bookings came in so fast, I kind of freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, we're not ready for this. Has the insurance even completely gone through? I don't have a bookkeeper. This is too fast. But so I quickly kind of had to get my act together. But yeah, it was a really pleasant surprise how the community just showed up, and we're excited to go sailing.
All right. Before we talk about the sailing company and all of that, we haven't addressed the name of how. What's the story there?
That's pretty much our number one question when people get on the boat. And honestly, I don't know if this is a totally made up answer. This is what my brother tells people, because my brother does run a lot of the charters.
Okay.
So Pterodactyl is what we call a gaff rigged schooner, meaning she has two big main sails that are shaped like trapezoids. And the boat is also bright orange. But I guess my dad thought that gaff-rigged schooners resemble pterodactyls. I don't know. But at the same time, he's an old artsy hippie guy, and he loves to be different and stand out, and is certainly a nonconformist. So I think he probably got I don't know. He got creative with it. But I will say, when I bought the boat, there was 2 rules. My dad said, you can't change the name and you can't change the color.
Okay. So those are dad's.
So I'm honoring those.
Those are your dad's requirements when you purchase the boat: name and color, not touchable. He'll let you. Make modifications. Well, because you've already said, he was describing to you how the bulkhead was put together. Okay. All right.
I mean, I would never change either. I don't like changing. I mean, a lot of people say changing the name of a boat is bad luck, and I would also never change the bright orange because it's actually super iconic and it really stands out. And I think it's really fun. That's kind of like our whole brand is built around, kind of being different. So it's so I wouldn't change them anyway.
Your dad named the boat. You're not sure the origin story. You should really invest in creating a really funny tongue-in-cheek origin story for the boat.
I know, I really should.
It'd be fun.
That's a good idea.
It'd be fun, just get your dad on camera and have him back in 82, I was thinking, just whatever, totally make it up and just, totally just complete fabricate a Saturday Night Live-esque skit, type thing, just total I had a vision, anyway, whatever. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
So you opened up the booking and you were rewarded almost immediately with people signing up, and you weren't quite prepared for that, et cetera, et cetera. What months of the year do you sail? Because you're not taking people out. I don't think people want to go out in November, do they? I mean, it's kind of gray and dreary in the Olympia area in November. So what's our season?
May through late September is generally what we sail. I think, down the road, if we expand, I would love to have a boat that could take people out in the winter here because it actually has its own immense beauty here. The snow-capped mountains and the fog. I think it's gorgeous. But for right now, with how we're operating, we just do the summer months, the warm months.
The warm months for the fair weather sailors.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So when you opened, what sort of words can be hard sometimes for me. What sort of services? I mean, how long could people book it? What and has that changed? Are you modifying it to what you are opening for this year for 24?
So basically we do private charters, meaning that you have to book the whole boat. So we're a 6-passenger vessel. So when you book the boat, you could just bring yourself. You can bring up to 6 people. There's always 2 professional crew on board, so you can just relax. But if people want to get involved, help hoist sails, take the helm, they're more than welcome to, and that can be a really fun part. Or people just want to have a glass of wine in their beanbag chair and relax, which,
Okay.
Totally understand. So we offer 2-hour, 3-hour, and then a full day sailing option.
Okay.
There's rarely a destination, it depends on the conditions. We literally go where the wind blows. Just kind of get people out on the water. For the full day sail, we do often go to an island called Hope Island, which is a little state park outside of Olympia, which is actually where the people who started the Olympia Beer Co., they originally owned it, and it was a vineyard back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Now it's just a gorgeous little island. There's barely anyone, oftentimes there. There's a really cool cabin, a historic orchard. There's all their cool historic, native grapes growing up the fir trees. It's a very cool place. So we try to take people there.
Okay.
And go exploring. People love to swim and all of that. And we've added a couple other little niche sails here. We sometimes do a full moon cruise where we go out at midnight on the full moon, but no sails go up. It's an adult only sail. Okay. Just get people out, to experience something most people wouldn't have the means to. So there are a couple little things we've added, but for the most part, we kind of stick with that program. Okay. It's just a nice little taste for people. And sometimes they start on the 2-hour, and then oftentimes people book the full day next time.
So I know you just said you don't have a destination or anything, but I want to, my brain doesn't work that way. So if it was a couple hours and it was good sailing weather, give me an idea of where that might take me.
Well, we sail out of a little marina called Boston Harbor Marina, which is outside of the town area. It's a gorgeous little historic marina. And the water is a lot cleaner there. You're not in the town. So we sail out of there. If it's a good sailing day, we're going to be going about, 6 to 8 knots, which is, nautical miles. So 1.1 regular miles. We're not screaming along, but we're moving.
Right.
We'll generally sail all the way across to the other side of, the west side of the Puget Sound, which is a few miles. And we generally just kind of tack back and forth. Tack is, basically turning the boat. So we kind of go back and forth a couple times because, when you're on, you can see different views from different areas. We sometimes go up butt and let people can see the Capitol building and then sail back towards the marina. But yeah, we usually cover, a fair bit of miles. But, if there's no wind, I like to use the motor to a certain extent, but also I think just the calm of the water, even if you're not moving quickly, is a nice experience for people. So sometimes, we don't go that far.
Is Anderson Island ever within the range that you could do during a sailing?
Not for one of our 2 or 3 hour sails. We could get there in that amount of time, but not necessarily to get back, especially with the currents around here can be quite strong. But I would love to do some sails to Anderson Island because it's really a gorgeous place and it's not that far.
Yeah, that's why I always, it's always a mystery on water, how far we can go and things like that. So I've never been to Hope Island, and that's a state park.
Yeah, it's a little state park. It's probably a lot. You can rent kayaks actually from Boston Harbor Marina and paddle there. It's probably, I want to say, like 2.5, 3 miles. Kind of a bit of a ways, but it's totally worth it. You can camp there. I think there's like 10 campsites. The circumference of the island is only a mile. And it's partially wooded, and then part of it is an old orchard. Where there's a little caretaker's cabin and a bunch of old apple trees. Right. And the whole island is also overrun by raccoons. So definitely protect your food. But they're also the most adorable little raccoons you've ever seen. They just, at low tide, they go down and just like crack open all the oysters and they're just feasting. But yeah, it's a very cool place.
How on earth did raccoons get to an island? I mean,
they're swimmers.
I know. I've heard stories of deer swimming to Vashon Island. And so, I mean, I know, but it just baffles me. It's like a little raccoon ferry for them or something. And they stay there.
It's interesting. We go there a lot just on the boat. We call them our overnighters, where we just go and anchor and have dinner, go to bed. We can be there in like 30 minutes from the marina. So we end up going there all the time. And yeah, a lot of times I'm just having my coffee on deck in the morning and I just see this little deer head just like doot, 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 just scooting across the sound over there, because
that's cool.
There is one part of land it's pretty close to. It's like probably a half mile, but yeah.
But still, that's okay. So yeah. So the Pterodactyl, you have 2 people crew. If you were to take this boat up to the Inside Passage, let's say, okay, which is obviously out of Puget Sound, would 2 people be able to run the boat effectively?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, my partner and I have taken it, excuse me. My partner and I have taken it, pretty far north before, just the 2 of us. Of course, we both know what we're doing, but
right.
Yeah, it's not hard. I mean, we do haul up all the sails by hand, so there's no winches on board. So you get pretty buff in the summer taking people sailing like 4 times a day, hauling these things up. But as long as you have one person who can just stand at the wheel and drive straight, and the other person can haul everything up, it's pretty manageable. I would say in some ways Pterodactyl is a little trickier than some boats to sail, just mainly because we have a bowsprit, which is a big piece of wood that is 15 feet long that sticks out over the water. So I'm always the person that's running up there to take down sails or put them up. I do end up going to the very end, which can be dangerous. And there is a way I could rig something up so I don't have to do that. But honestly, I don't mind it. I think it's kind of fun. But if I was going to go offshore, I would definitely rig some stuff up to make it even easier to sail with 2 people. But
I'm looking at this. But as the photos keep scrolling by on the website, I'm looking at that going, you go out. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good on you.
My dad single-handed the boat a lot too, which could be possible, but okay. I don't know. That's one of my goals this summer. I want to take my brother, someone on a windy day, but be like, don't help me unless it's an emergency. And then I want to do it all myself just to try it. Okay. It'd be good to try, but so far.
What would the top sailing speed on this thing be? I mean, I know it's dependent on the wind, but realistically, where would it top out at?
So that also technically comes down to design. There's a thing called hull speed, which is as fast as a boat can technically go.
Okay.
I will say Pterodactyl's faster than she should be. When you look at her, she doesn't look like a fast boat. And she's not, but we've had her going at 9 knots before.
Okay.
It's probably not comfortable. The boat heels over really far, which is just a natural part of sailing, but not always comfortable for people who aren't familiar with it.
Okay.
But yeah, the amazing thing about Pterodactyl that I've always been surprised by is how well she does in really light air, meaning really slow winds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she does a thing pretty well. We call it ghosting, where you're like, you can't even tell where the breeze is coming from, but somehow we're moving.
We're still moving.
Not fast, but we're moving.
But we're moving. Awesome. So the sails, canvas? What's the material?
They're Dacron. They're
okay.
They're basically plastic, but still very traditional in their aesthetic and shape.
And how long? What's the life of a sail like that? Because it's out in water, wind, elements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the main thing for sails is UV.
Mm-hmm.
Beats them up. If you got really good sails by a local sailmaker, which if you have the means to do, you absolutely should, because they can last up to 40 plus years if they're taken care of.
Wow. Okay.
The company we get sails from, we usually expect 10 years from them. And we did just get new sails last year, which was exciting, as well as a new engine. So full new propulsion setup.
Oh.
But yeah, really happy with the
When
new
was
sails.
the last time the new engine had an oil change?
Oh, yeah. Well, lucky for me, my boyfriend's a marine engineer. So that I just passed the baton. That is his department. But yeah, no, it's we do it pretty regularly.
Yeah, okay.
The engine, buying a marine engine, let me tell you, is a big undertaking. So I definitely want to, if I ever have children, their generation can get the next engine. My dad got one. I got one.
Okay.
I don't want to have to
So
do that again.
what is the marine engine in this? What is this having?
It's a beta, which is basically a marinized Kubota. They are really great engines. They've become a lot more popular lately because they are really easy to maintenance and they're really easy to get parts. A lot of these marine engines, especially for this kind of horsepower, have a lot of, they're run by a computer or parts are hard to get. So we went with beta. They're a little more expensive, but just because how much we use the boat, we want to make sure we have something that we can.
And how many
take care
horsepower
of.
is the engine?
It's a 62 horsepower engine.
So that would be like something like in a tractor, if it was on land type thing. You said Kubota.
Yeah,
that's why.
it's probably it's a Kubota block basically.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they it would be in a small tractor. And they do make them. My brother, we just put a new engine in his boat last year as well. His is only 25 horsepower, and it's, they're cute little bright red engines.
Cute.
We just pretty much picked it up and plopped her in. But yeah, they have a kick. They sound like little tractor engines.
That's funny. So new propulsion on the Pterodactyl right now. What's next? What are you gonna?
That's a good question. I would love to update the rigging. So the standing rigging are the parts of the rig that don't move. So we call running rigging, like all the lines, everything running through blocks and pulleys.
Okay.
So the standing rigging are the cables that support the mast.
Okay.
I think they're absolutely fine for how they are, but aesthetically, they look pretty tired.
Okay.
And they're not the most traditional style.
Okay.
They're basically galvanized cable. So I would like to update that, but really, what we're moving towards is just kind of expanding the business. We've had such a great time and so much fortune to just have a great customer base here in Olympia. And there's room for us to expand. So that's kind of what we're touring with. We don't know exactly what direction we're going to take it yet, but that's kind of, the next step because, when I started the business, I just wanted to make sure I could provide and make Pterodactyl what I wanted her to be. And, between the new engine and the new sails and just all the work we've put in, she's looking pretty good. So now we can kind of start turning to the next page and seeing how else we can grow as a company. And, the best thing is that we're a family business. My brother runs most of the charters now because I'm still, up until very recently, very involved in yachting. So I wasn't always here. So between him and his partner, who is an amazing sailor as well, she also does the charters. And then myself and my dad still being involved. We have a capacity to put some love into the right boat. So
Awesome.
that's kind of, where we're going.
So during the season, how many times does the Pterodactyl go out in a day? I mean, I know that depends on what people are booking. An all-day sail, one. But how many bookings do you like to do? What works for you guys? What's the sweet spot?
So the 2 hour is the most popular sail that we do. Just, it's also, obviously the most affordable and way for people to check out if they like it. But we'll oftentimes, we're open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., at the height of summer when the sun goes down, at 9 something.
Right.
So sometimes we're literally sailing from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Wow.
Long days for the crew. Those are the weekends, the hot days. But I would say on your average Tuesday, we're probably sailing 4 to 6 hours out of the day, as opposed to like a 12-hour day. Yeah, we do great. we do great, and we're so lucky to be at Boston Harbor because Boston Harbor has its own community around it. And if any of your listeners haven't checked them out, they have awesome BBQs with live music and local breweries, and they have that every Friday. And they've really kind of cultivated a really cool culture. Just fun times of being on the water. So we've kind of partnered with that, and we've been doing well the last couple of seasons.
So I'm on the booking page right now. I'm seeing 5 options plus a gift card. I'm going to put you on the spot. You have to pick. What's your favorite?
Oh, easy.
Oh, well, that was no fun.
well, sorry. Finish.
No. I was just, it's like, what's, if you were knowing what if you were booking and you weren't going to work, you were going to go and just be a customer, enjoy yourself. What would you pick?
Well, my favorite's the golden hour sail, which is our sunset sail. It's often from 7 to 9. So it's the end of your day. Not only do we have amazing sunsets where we are, there's something called a thermal breeze in Puget Sound, where as the sun goes down and the air cools, it generates a bit more of a breeze. So sometimes the wind can pick up a little bit. And we've just had so many beautiful, perfect condition sails for the golden hour. So for me and my friends, I would pick the golden hour. We do bring a lot of kids on board. And for those sails, I oftentimes recommend our quiet morning sail because it's just quieter on the water. The conditions are calmer. That's generally our 9 to 11 sail.
Okay. And so on your web, I'm going to, at the time that we're recording this, the prices that I'm saying are at the time we're recording. These may change at any given moment, so please visit the website. Okay, there's my disclaimer. So the golden hour sale is $315, and that's for up to 6 people, or is that per person?
No, that's for the whole boat. So 6 people, and it also includes a welcome beverage for everybody. We can do cocktails or mocktails.
Very cool. And then all the way up to all day starting at $695.
Yeah.
Okay. When you say starting at, what other add-ons could I add on to that if I was taking the boat all day? Type thing.
Yeah, exactly. People do charcuterie, which we can actually add on to any of our sales. The reason we have that price there is because sometimes people want the boat parked at a dock for an event, or we actually do memorial sales where people actually spread ashes and we have the family on board. So there's a lot of ways to get creative with it. But just if you just want to come on for 6 hours and go to Hope Island and go for a swim and explore, then the $695 is where we're at. And we actually just lowered our prices last year.
What? That's unheard of.
Yeah. I know. It's really important for me to keep this as accessible to people as possible. And, it actually worked for us. We did even get more sales. Of course, it's more wear and tear on the boat, but it's just, we really do want to make sure that everyone, or as much as we can allow, we want to have a place where everyone can have a little, experience on the water, because it's crazy. Even growing up in Olympia, the amount of people who've lived here their whole lives and never been on the water blows my mind, because that is why I am here. Okay. That's why I come back here. And of course that wouldn't be for everybody, but I do like trying to share that with people. So those are our prices. They will stay that way for this season for sure. And again, it's a flat rate. So that can just be a date night with you and your person, or you can bring all your friends.
That's all of your friends equaling 6. Somebody's gonna miss. Yeah, somebody's gonna miss the list. Number 7. Sorry, stay on the dock and just wave at us as we go off, because the boat has a fixed capacity of 6 people. So
that's a legal Coast Guard regulated
and also
number.
When I was reading, that means newborns count as a full person. So
so the Coast Guard views everybody as a person, whether it is a newborn or whatever. It does count towards the 6. That's something we have to be very strict on.
Okay. The other thing is you guys love dogs and they're okay under some conditions.
Yes. So dogs are welcome. The one thing is that sometimes, I mean, if we're really sailing and the boat's kind of leaning over, it can make dogs nervous. As long as people are responsible and attentive to their dogs, we haven't had any bad experiences with dogs. My brother and his girlfriend have brought their dog sometimes. You know, he just kind of lays in the cockpit at their feet. No one even knows he's there. But yeah, dogs are welcome. We got a lot of dogs in my family. If we're going sailing with my family, there's at least 3 dogs that got their life jackets on.
I wonder how mine would do. I got about 130-pound Bernese Mountain Dog.
Ooh, big boy.
Yeah, he's a big boy. He should be a full person. On one hand, I think he'd be like totally calm and just chill because that's the way he is until he's not. And then it would be the whole, he's not calm. It'd be like, oh boy, that would not be fun. Okay. So I think it's really cool what you guys are doing in the sense that it's, and I'm also surprised that Olympia doesn't have more sailing options. So good for you from a business aspect. Good for you. That's awesome. Couple of questions about you personally, though. You said you went to college. Yeah. Where'd you go to college at?
I actually went to Evergreen here in Olympia.
Okay. And what was the major?
Marine science.
Marine science. And does that apply to your daily life now?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean,
nothing wrong with that.
I mean, if people are like, what's that in the water? I'll be like, oh, it's a ctenophore. You know, I can get kind of nerdy with it. My main study was plankton, like primary producers. So from that standpoint, I wasn't studying whales and sharks. But yeah, I mean, I have an extra awareness of how owning a boat can affect the marine environment, which sometimes you can see boats as a necessary evil to, you know, from an environmental standpoint, there can be some negative sides of owning a boat. But at the same time, if you don't get people out in the water and experience the water in this beautiful place we live in, then, you know, what are we doing? So, yeah, I try to be really responsible from that standpoint, just considering that's what I did study in school. But no, not a direct tie.
Nothing wrong with that. I think, yeah. Okay. So when you're not on the water, what do you like to do?
Well, yeah, from like a hobby standpoint,
just you guys aren't on the water. It's a day off. You don't have, you're not going to work on the boat. You're taking a break.
Yeah.
What are you going to go do?
Well, I do like to play music. I play a lot of music. I play the banjo and the guitar.
Okay. What type? What's your genre of choice there?
The banjo, I play clawhammer, so like old timey kind of stuff.
Okay, cool.
I'm not a bluegrass gal.
Okay.
I mean, I like bluegrass. I just don't play it.
Okay.
Guitar. Yeah, I guess you could say if I'm playing, I'm kind of just more of like a strummer, but I can, you know, I still like to jam with people and hang out, but I'm not going to whip out any crazy riffs. But yeah, we play a lot of music in my family. My brother's an amazing drummer. My mom's a musician. So we do play a lot of music. And yeah, my partner and I were also just getting really into like building stuff. After being on boats for so long in such tiny spaces, we just bought a house like 2 years ago here in Olympia, and it's been really fun. We've like been building all the furniture, and we just built, well, mostly my partner, we built a cedar wood-fired hot tub. So it's been really fun just kind of having the space to explore, new hobbies. So building. Yeah.
Okay. You've mentioned coffee a couple of times. I think I prepped you for this, but I always ask this question. Where's your go-to coffee place in Olympia?
Go-to coffee is definitely Olympia Coffee Roasters.
And okay.
They're in Olympia. Yeah. They're an amazing, obviously.
Hello.
OCR, as we call it. Gorgeous setting. They roast all their own coffee. They've won a ton of awards. I think they're kind of low-key famous, honestly.
They're more than low-key famous. They're in the coffee world. They're well known. I mean, they're not that large green mermaid, but they're
right. They're up there. They're doing good.
The tier below that with because Olympia has another couple of coffee companies that are like that.
Also, Ember Goods is my other go-to, and they're an awesome little storefront too. They've got a ton of local products and like cool clothes and just like very Pacific Northwest, like cabin chic, like Instagram vibes,
Right.
but like totally pulling it off, like beautiful plants like growing down, and their coffee is also amazing.
Okay, so at Olympia Coffee Roasters, though, what's your? You and I are walking in. We're gonna order drinks. What's your go-to?
I'm probably a cappuccino girl.
Okay.
They always do it right, and they give you a little sparkling water on the side.
Okay.
And they actually make it 6 ounces, which I hate when people get cappuccinos and they're huge. Like they're supposed to be like these tiny little foamy espresso drinks. So I love their cappuccinos.
Okay. All right. So what about at Ember Goods? I've been to Olympia Coffee Roasters, and I've had a fair number of their coffees, and I'm a pour over black coffee drink, pretty straight espresso stuff. Very good. I've never been to Ember Goods. What's your go-to there?
I mean, I'd probably do the same, but I will say both places have like some really cool stuff on the menu. I don't really like sweet stuff in my coffee, but they've got all sorts of cool like hibiscus and matcha and infused stuff. Yeah, it's a bit much for me, but I will say it's I don't know. They look nice.
Yeah, they're pretty.
But I'm a cappuccino person, or sometimes a mocha, maybe if I'm feeling a little sweet with the dark chocolate.
Okay,
but...
so you're making coffee at home. What are you making cappuccinos at home?
Oh no.
Okay,
we're French press. We're a French press family, and we have like this old timey like German hand grinder that's actually super cute,
right.
And you can actually adjust the grind.
Yep.
Usually those old ones, you can't, but
okay,
it's a little morning workout. Definitely wakes you up, but we hand grind and then we do a French press.
Okay. What's the beans of choice at home?
We will sometimes do OCR, although I prefer their stuff espresso style. For French press, I do, they were formerly, oh my gosh, wait, hold on. Thinking, I think they're called Wobbly Cup. They just changed their name. They were formerly Burial Grounds in Olympia. But they just changed their name. I think it's Wobbly Cup, and they sell it at all. They sell it at the grocery store, but also at the little country corner store by our house. And it's not like too acidic. Sometimes
right.
It's like a nice full body.
Okay, solid.
Yeah.
Wobbly Cup. I'm gonna check that out. That's not one I've heard of. My next trek through Olympia, I'll go look. I always buy. Yeah. My touristy thing is I buy coffee from wherever I'm at. Bring it home and try it.
I love that.
All right, so. Next question I always ask everybody. I'm getting to Olympia about lunchtime. I'm hungry. Where should I go for lunch?
To keep it on the boaty theme, I would say Halyard's Cafe. I think they've only been around a couple years. Okay. It's right downtown. They've got like actually amazing burgers, among other things. Okay. And it's also a very cool little diner aesthetic in there. It's all old like ship and sailing themed.
Okay, cool.
But not in like a tacky way. It's a bunch of like punks who work there and also like sail super hard on their off days, and it's got a really cool vibe in there. They also have a record player with an awesome collection of records they've always got playing.
So like what? Drop a name. What if you're walking in there and it's on there playing? What are you liking? What do you like?
Oh, I mean, I went there the other day. I think they were just playing like Nina Simone or something old, but they've got all sorts of like, depending on who's there. They also have like, some like weird old Olympia punk band from the 90s could be playing. You really never know what you're going to get.
Olympia had that 90s punk scene going on. I mean, there was.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's alive. It's alive.
It still is. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
That's very true. That's Olympia's kept that going. All right.
Yeah.
Last question I'm going to ask you. You have to answer it. You have to give me an explanation. You can't. This. I'm sorry. All the other questions were optional. This is the serious question that you have to answer. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Cake or pie, and why?
Oh, this is actually like a serious debate in my house. Actually, I guess maybe pie, because I like going to pick the berries or pick the apples off our trees and then also making a pie with it. That's a full experience with the pie. I mean, you could do that with a cake, but I'm less likely to.
You're not going to grow the wheat and mill it?
Yeah, I'm not going to I'm not grinding the wheat in my coffee grinder. No. I would say pie because it feels like extra summery and fun.
Okay.
And I'm not talking pumpkin pie. I'm talking like blackberry pie or something.
So So what is if you could have only one pie the rest of your life, what's it going to be? This is a very serious question. I mean, this is, I'm kidding, but
yeah, I love blackberry pie, but
okay.
I might say strawberry rhubarb. I love rhubarb.
Interesting. Strawberry rhubarb is making a comeback.
Yeah, rhubarb's quite hip. It's hearty.
Well, I'm saying that because every guest I ask this question, right? And every guest lately I've been saying, I'm going to go back and listen to every episode and catalog everybody's answers and like keep the running score. I think pie's in the lead.
Really?
There's really
it
no
just
right
feels more grown up. It feels more grown up to say pie. I mean, I love cake.
Okay. But there's no wrong answer here, really. I mean,
no, I know.
Actually, there is. For
like
me personally, there is a wrong answer, and that's pumpkin pie. That's wrong. Just no.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind pumpkin pie, but I also love peach pie.
Yeah, solid. So the point here, though, is like strawberry rhubarb has been mentioned by multiple guests recently. So it's like maybe it's the time of year we're recording. People are, I don't know. Okay. So you're a pie person. That's the pie. Okay.
I mean, I'm a both person, but if I have to pick, I'll say pie.
Gotta pick. There is no. I mean, you cast your ballot. You can't vote for both. Okay. All right. What didn't I ask you? What didn't we talk about with regards to Olympia Sailing Company, Pterodactyl, Olympia?
I think we really covered it. I mean, if I have to say like one little pitch about Olympia Sailing Co. that I really want us to like stand for and represent is we are really an inclusive community of people. We want everyone to feel welcome. Welcoming people onto the boat is like welcoming people into my family. It's it's an extension of my family, especially as we run it as a family. And it's really important to me that everyone feels welcome and comfortable, and you don't have to know anything about sailing or the water or whatever. When you're going to join us, it's all inclusive. We're going to look after people. And we also really love chatting with people and getting to know everyone. And it's amazing just, how many people we've had come back and the little community we've created around sailing. And we're super small. We just have one boat, but, I think it really has, it's added to our lives. And we're, really grateful for everyone who's come out. And we just encourage everyone to experience this amazing place we are. So, I guess if I have to just pitch that, that's a good place to end. But
where can people find out more? They want to. Where are you sending them on this in the social media world? Where should people go look?
Yeah. So our Instagram is at Olympia Sailing Co. We post a lot of stuff there, like really like last minute deals and stuff. Like if it's a gorgeous day and we don't have anyone booked, we'll say, text us for a 20% off code. So it's a nice place to kind of the last minute stuff, but also just kind of get an idea of our aesthetic, what we do, what sailing looks like with us. We also do Facebook, but I'm say we're more active on Instagram. And then we also have our website, which is olympiasailingco.com. And you can do all of your booking there, all of our schedules up to date there. But of course, people are welcome to give us a call or even text is fine, the number that we have listed there if you have questions or anything.
And we'll put links in the show notes to Instagram, Facebook, and the website for people too. So, okay.
Awesome.
Super cool. I think what you guys are doing, the story of the boat is, one thing we didn't talk about is that on your website, there's a link for history and there's a video of your dad. What?
So
we should have covered this earlier. Sorry. This is, but there's this video of your dad. Where did that come from? What was the story there?
Someone knocked on my parents' door a few years ago, and it was my dad's like good friend, a younger guy who builds tiny houses. And he said, "Hey, this YouTuber guy is here. He does like portraits of places or people in places they build and live." And I thought we could do one of Pterodactyl. So it was completely on the fly. My dad was like, "Sure, come in." They like rowed out to the boat and they just did this full tour of the boat. And that is pretty much the state of the boat I built. I bought it in. Like, it's floating, it's working. It's also kind of a catch-all. And, it's a beautiful little portrait of my dad explaining what he built. And it's a really cool video. And especially if you're interested in trying to build your own boat or, jumping into some sort of adventure, my dad definitely did it. And it's a really awesome video. And Dylan McGaster, who who did the video did a good job of capturing that. But yeah, there's a link for it on our website under history.
Yeah.
And yeah, I encourage folks to watch it. It's got like 600,000 views or something. I mean, my dad's famous sometimes. I'm
I know, that's crazy.
Like, oh, Pterodactyl. I know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
You always wonder like what makes something go, viral is such an overused word, but why did this video get that many impressions? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I think we're an eye-catching boat to begin with, but my dad is such just a earnest person. He really is endearingly captivated. He's just captivating to watch, and especially in his little world. So it's a sweet video. I recommend it to
very
folks.
Cool. So what you're doing is awesome. I love listening to people's stories about their project. Even sailing's not my thing, right? And I've talked to people who climb Rainier, not my thing. But I love it when people are like into what they're doing and it's their thing. And if anyone wants to get out and experience Puget Sound, the Olympia area's got beautiful water. It's beautiful down there. They should absolutely come and check it out. And yeah, I like the idea of the golden hour sail myself too. That's kind of like that could be really very, very cool. So, but you mentioned one last thing. You mentioned doing maybe like a full moon type thing. Are those? Mm-hmm. How does one book that if they're looking for something a little bit off of the schedule, if you will?
You can just contact us on the website. There's a little contact icon. Last year, I did have the full moon sail just in our booking flow there, but it's kind of a particular experience. And it's just kind of nice to always talk to people so that they know what they're getting into and making sure we can meet their needs because it is at night underway. Right. But yeah, absolutely. It's a really fun sail. If anyone's interested, you can just, shoot us a message and we can go from there.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'd love to have you sailing sometime. Next time you're rolling through, you should shoot me a message to get you sailing.
I will take you up on that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Hope you enjoyed the show. You can reach me on Twitter at ExploreWaState. I'd love to hear your comments. You can also visit our website at explorewashingtonstate.com. If you know anyone who would like the show, it'd be amazing if you'd share the show with them. This is the biggest way that we grow this show. Good old word of mouth. I'm glad you were here with me today, and I hope to have you listening to the next episode. See you then.